So we're going to be talking about a fall allergy primer. If you're going to go outside during ragweed season, what is ragweed? Ragweed's a little weed that's about as tall as my waist. When you see one ragweed plant, you'll see 100 in that area. You'll only find the ragweed plant where man has interfered with the terrain, with the ground. So if you dig a garden, it's not going to be in the garden. It's going to be along the sides of the garden where you've messed up that part of the terrain. The garden will be what you plant, but on the side there will be ragweed plants that will come up. Now it's a bushy plant. Every weed has a flower, and ragweed has a flower too. The little fingers that stick up on the side of the plant, and when you take one of those fingers, if you bend it, you'll see little flowerets. And those flowerets are what produce the pollen. The ragweed pollen looks like a gladiator ball with spikes on it. And it's actually made where it will float in the wind, and it will float as far as 40 miles out to sea. Some people have said as far as 400 miles. So if you walk through the ragweed patch, you're going to suffer at that time. You're going to have ragweed hay fever symptoms. But if you're a mile away, there's still going to be ragweed in the air that finds its way to you. So you cannot prevent exposure to ragweed pollen. Now, pollen will occur more frequent at certain times of day. And so the ragweed pollen has a special time where it is in the air. You won't want to exercise when it's at its highest content outside. You'll want to be where it's the lowest content. Tree pollen is in the spring of the year. That's March, April, May. But ragweed in East Tennessee is the last week in August until the first hard frost. As we go further north, up in the Midwest, when the winter comes sooner, ragweed will begin to die off earlier, and it will present itself early. So they'll have weeds early. Ragweed has its onset middle of August until the first frost up in the Midwest, where in Knoxville it's the last week in August until the first hard frost. You'll begin to see ragweed pollen on a counter earlier than August 20th. Why is that? Because there's giant ragweed. And if you look at giant ragweed, it will be along streams that you will see like a stream in a town. Beside it, there'll be giant ragweed plants. They'll be 6 feet tall, but they'll have those same fingers that go out. And if you bend those fingers, it will have the pollen. So how much pollen comes out of one plant? Well, listen to this figure. It's 10 million pollen grains per plant per day. And so it puts out huge amounts. If you go by and pat a ragweed plant on a real dry day, you'll see a cloud of yellow smoke. For some reason, during the COVID-19 season, we haven't seen as much prolific ragweed. Not sure why that is, but that's what we're seeing on our counters, and that's what they're seeing up in Lexington, Kentucky, and that's where they're seeing everywhere else. So it's something that we've got to learn about. Ragweed, last week in August until the first hard frost.